Hello Pat, I'm with Graham at his house. This is the dinghy. We've just decided that we're going to pack this up and put it into the cockpit. There's a few other things need to be packed up. The barbecue is on a permanent mount and it's held on with a 7x7 braided wire for security, so that will remain there. The ladder that's on the back, there's this one and another, they'll come off and be packed inside somewhere. Upstairs the bimini will fold down, the clears will roll up and stick inside the cabin, and things like the cover for the life raft and the window covers, we'll take them off and put them inside so that they're not blowing away. The only thing you'll probably have to reassemble when you get there is the game poles. These relax poles are in two pieces. In the middle there's a fitting like this which holds them together. You can see that way up there at the moment. That will have to be taken apart to split them into two pieces. And then the tube itself is held into the base by two screws, one here and one here. So we'll remove them and put the poles probably inside. But when you get the boat, you'll need to reassemble the components. Graham's going to put all the bits in a bag. But these two screws are the mounting screws, and then the joiner is at the. It's blowing a gale here at the moment again, but you can probably see the new QL tabs that have been fitted. Manly Harbour Marine are going to put them onto the warranty records with Volvo so you can access them anywhere. C-Pen, when they bring the pen to you, will give you some instructions on how it all works, but the pen will be coming with all of the pumps, fittings and wiring fittings. The EPIRB is currently registered to Graham. This is registered at amsa.gov.au. Once you get the boat, you'll need the numbers off the side to register, as well as details of your next of kin and people to contact. The important locker is the rearmost dinette seat, which underneath has a number of things stored. Both it and the locker forward of it have been fitted with a Haspin staple with a lock. The keys for this will come with the keys for the boat and will be handed to the truck driver. Because the boat companionway can't be locked, it's important to have somewhere that you can secure things. Under the rear seat are the chargers and main electrical panel. Just inside the door, underneath the stove, is the 12-volt DC distribution panel. Top switch is navigation lights. Second switch is the floods for the cockpit. The fourth switch down is for the fridge. It can sometimes be confusing, but there's a thermostat and a rotary on-off switch hiding inside the fridge as well. Both need to be on to set the fridge temperature. The electronic switch turns on the navigation equipment upstairs. The radio is for the VHF. Accessories is for the stereo, which is above the dinette table on the port side. And also there's a utility port with a portable VHF starboard side above the stove. That's powered by accessories as well. The saltwater pump is for the discharge of water from the shower compartment. So when you're having a shower, you need the freshwater pump on for incoming pressure and the saltwater pump to discharge the wastewater. The bilge pump is the primary switch for the large macerator pump in the bilge. Trim tabs powers the QL tabs, the control unit for which is on the flybridge. And the electric toilet needs to be turned on here, and then to operate it there's a black push button switch on the wall that I'll quickly move up to, which is this one here. This is the toilet door. We're going to have a look under the floor outside the toilet door.
It's a big macerator pump. This is the main switch for it.
So that switch there is for the main
discharge,
waste discharge.
And this is the holding tank.
Underneath Graham's foot is the holding tank for the toilet. The two valves you can see, the large one to the left is the toilet discharge and the small one to the right is the toilet inlet. And back underneath further, the little box is the sullage system for the wastewater from the shower. This system gives you a multiple number of choices. The valve at the back of the boat we're looking at upside down, this determines whether the waste goes overboard or whether it goes to the tank. So in the current position it's going directly overboard. If we turn the lever 90 degrees it'll divert the waste to the holding tank. Up on the side next to the switch is another three-way valve, currently set so that the waste goes directly overboard, but in the other position the waste goes to the holding tank.
Battery chargers in there. So.
This is the locker at the aft end of the dinette that I was talking about earlier. In it is the main power switches. You can probably read that there are 3. These are currently in the off position. They're a rotary switch. When the hole is in line with the green is on. So that's start on. The other 2 is emergency parallel and house. You would generally only have the start battery and the house on, but if one or the other was flattened you can use the parallel switch to connect the 2. Hiding down in the corner is the 240 volt shore power RCD, which is a residual current device that stops you getting electrocuted if you've got dodgy power or a dodgy appliance. And there are 2 built-in battery chargers connected to the electrical system of the boat with Anderson plugs.
So I've got all those codes for him too, for all the Victron stuff, and there's a battery sensor on the main battery too. So.
Right, you may have heard Graham say he's got all the codes for you for the Victron charger and sensors. So when you want to go somewhere in the boat, the procedure is unplug the shore power, which we'll show you in a minute, and then turn on the start battery and the house supply. Start is for engine start and house is for all of the accessories, and then you can move up to the flybridge. The little blue gadget in the corner is a Victron Bluetooth Smart Series charger. There's an app you need to download in Android or PlayStation, and we'll give you the password for it. It enables you to monitor your charging from a phone or tablet. Graham has it to a tablet. I have the same system on my boat and my camper trailer for the built-in charger and for the solar, and both work fabulously well. The Victron's the best of the systems around. Above the sink on the port side outside is a Clipsal IP67 plug. This is a 15 amp shore power plug. I'll just open the gate. 15 amp has a slightly bigger earth pin. You'll need a 15 amp cable to plug into a dock. Boats and caravans require the bigger cable. So the shore power simply plugs in and turn it on, and then the battery charging system is all automated. It's a smart switch mode charger, both of them, which will find its own levels between float, absorption and bulk charging as is required. All you need to do is plug it in, turn it on. When it's had enough, it'll turn. Above that there's a power mic for the standard Marantz VHF system. The radio upstairs will have to be on before this will work. Then you can remotely operate the VHF from downstairs using the handset. So we're going to start the boat. Graham's turning on the power switch. That's the left hand of the 3 under the locker. And then on the 12 volt panel he's turned on electronics, radio, accessories and trim tabs. That's all the devices that are needed to be powered up upstairs. So to turn on the Garmin, it's as simple as press and hold the red on and off switch at the top right. It'll take a moment or so to load and go through its normal processes. And I'll get Graham to run through his starting procedure on the engine. At the moment we've got the power on. The C-pen is down and the stern drive leg is up.
Yes, correct. So power on here, the ignition switch.
The ignition switch is the little Volvo Penta box to the near your left knee, which has a top button says ignition, bottom says start and stop. So you press the top one first,
Yes.
which activates the system,
Brings the dash up.
and then you'll get some LCDs showing on the power module above it.
Yep. And then we go down on the trim tab.
Then using the electronic controls, the trim for the leg is taken all the way down. You can monitor the trim by the number of degrees up or down showing on the main control module. And then once it's all the way down,
You just hit the start.
you just press the button that says start, stop. One starts it,
Yep.
and later one will stop it.
Yep. That brings all the instruments up. You've also got throttle only. You've got the buttons on the front, cruise control, trim up and down. There's a general rule, when I take off, I usually take the trim tab down to -5 and then just give a little bit of a bump up, and then the legs pointing down pushes your bum up really quick. As you go faster, like over 20 knots, I'll go to -3. I'll just bring it up a bit, and then just bring it up a bit more. Obviously I'm a bit high at the moment because I'm still got the pen bar underneath us. But when you go faster you can bring it up, but never really above 3 degrees.
Right.
So,
So to stop it, press the start, stop button again. And to depower the system,
yeah, well, bring the leg back
firstly
up.
we bring the leg back up.
So when it's in orange like that, that's shallow water drive. So you can put it into gear, but you can't give it any throttle. So that's if you're in really shallow water. And then when you come up and you go into red, that means you cannot put it in gear or drive it, because it's too high. And then it'll stop around 48 degrees, 49, and it's up.
Right,
And
so
then-
48, 49 degrees
Yep.
is all the way up. And then press
Then
the ignition button, the top, and it depowers the system.
yeah.
So the quick summary again was power on downstairs, press the ignition button on the main on-off switch,
Yep.
then use the down button on the throttle controller to take the leg down,
Yep.
and when you're ready to start, press the start button.
Yeah.
And the stop is the reverse of all of that.
Yeah. If you want to lock it, you can use this thing to lock it. You get two of these with the boat.
The little device in Graham's hands, the security lock.
We've got to have power on.
To lock it, you have the power on, and then you use it like a swipe function for a security card, and it beeps at you to tell you the system is locked.
Yeah, twice.
And to unlock it, it beeps and the display flashes to tell you that it's unlocked. That's a security device.
So,
The other gadgets on the dash, on the far side is the VHF radio, which is powered up from the radio switch downstairs, and it has a rotary on-off switch as well.
I'll push off on this one actually.
That's the on-off switch Graham's demonstrating. Then sweeping across the dash is the Volvo primary instrument on-off command switch bottom left, the data display above it. The next one under the data display, this one here, is a BEP carbon monoxide, which will be of no assistance to you because it doesn't have a petrol engine anymore with carbon monoxide.
Yes.
Compass, obviously, GPS display above it. I'd encourage you to read Garmin's comprehensive manual because these things do an enormous amount of items, and they're relatively complicated, so learn how to use them and get the best out of it.
Its touchscreen is very good.
It's all latest touchscreen. It's been updated to the latest software available for it.
Which was 2015 was the latest software, but the maps are 2018.
Maps are 2018.
Yeah.
Down on this side of the dash, the electronic controls. These also have a vast array of options for setting throttle and single lever and all sorts of things, so there's a manual for those you should read as well. The Lumar bow thruster is turned on by, there's a little lockout button in the top which is pushed and the bit underneath lifted at the same time. I think you can see that here. Above that is the QL tab controller, and to the left of that the Muir anchor windlass up and down controls.
That works.
You can hear anchors banging away down on the bow.
Yep, works well.
And that's
and this is fully automatic if you want it.
yes. The QL tabs have a full auto function, which are fantastic. You once they're set, you don't need to worry about them. They'll find their own ride and lateral roll levels at all times.
Yeah.
Terrific system with load. Underneath the electronic throttle controllers, there's a rocker switch marked trim tabs. This is in lieu of a normal key switch assembly for the QL tabs. So once you've powered up the system, before you operate the trim tabs, you need to turn the trim tabs on here. It activates a startup procedure, and it has like a memory in the module for the boat, and it's the amount of response. So this is powered before you use the tabs by the little trim tab on and off switch. Behind the helm, this is a power assisted hydraulic steering system. There's a little filler cap that has a tiny O-ring and a tiny little hole in it, which is part of the breather system. Graham was pointing out very wisely that this doesn't or should not be over tightened.
No, it needs to breathe. So if you ram it down, you'll block the little valve.
So that this is where you top up hydraulic oil for the system should you ever need to. But when this goes on, it should be kept just sort of lightly closed. Don't squash the O-ring, because if you stop the breather, the hydraulic steering pump will pressurize the system and no doubt blow it out somewhere, probably the reservoir in the engine compartment. So if you get a leak down there, it's because you've over tightened it up here. This just needs to be, this is just, you can probably see it's only just shut.
And the only time I have to touch this is when we have the really big service and they pull the leg off and do the big inspection.
Where they would break the hydraulic line and probably change the hydraulic oil.
3 years is usually they'll pull the leg off, do a big inspection, and then you have to bleed the